Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, dude. Are we back?
I think we're back. We're back.
We're so back, dude.
This is crazy. Greg, roll the music. We wanted to bring a lot of intensity coming back to season 4 of the Guys Who Cry podcast. So,
guys,
where's your intensity?
Oh, it's probably at like an 8.5 right now.
Is that because you're drinking Chardonnay or whatever?
You know what? I got a little glass of champagne to toast the start of the podcast. cheers.
Cheers.
Look, for those of you who don't know, if this is for whatever reason, this is your first time listening to Guys Who Cry, you found it, whatever. Adam and I are two Delawareans who one of us doesn't live in Delaware anymore, but we started this podcast around COVID, probably midway through the COVID season.
That's right.
And we were just hanging out all the time. We had really good emotional discussions.
Yep.
And we decided, you know what? We should start a podcast because no one is doing a podcast. So
the market's not already completely saturated.
The market
so
is not saturated.
Start a podcast.
So we should saturate it with content.
And what's funny is, go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying we did it for 3 seasons.
It was great. It was really great, and we had the help of Greg Alois here. We are related.
Hello.
And Greg is a technical master wizard. So we wanted to get him more on camera because he's always, the producers are always kind of in the back corner working on stuff, and we wanted to bring him out in the front. So Greg's here. I'm Adam Cook for anyone who doesn't know, and Reuben Donati. Reuben, where are you podcasting from right now?
I am podcasting from Murrells Inlet, South Carolina, in Myrtle Beach.
So we're doing a little long distance relationship here, podcasting relationship.
Also, we took a big break because some major life things happened in my life. I ended up moving. And so because of that, we took a hiatus on the podcast. Really didn't know if we were going to bring it back there for a while.
But I will say, I think you guys were really gung-ho. I'm moody. I'm a little bit discontent sometimes, and I really do struggle with...
Which is fine.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why that is, though. And we talk about mental health. We talk about all sorts of deep things. And so it's interesting to talk about how you can lose passion in something and kind of fall out of love with a craft that you've come to love so much, But Reuben, you had physical changes in geographical changes.
Yes.
But you wanted to do the podcast the whole time. Is that correct?
Yeah, but also let's be honest. we did 20 episodes a season.
Right.
And that was every week.
It was a lot. And
it was a lot of stress. I feel a lot on Greg because Greg was editing it and producing it and and it was a lot. And I feel there were a lot of times where we would just kind of show up and then we would be there late. And doing it long distance is a little bit tougher too because, you have to get the right equipment and everything. And also, like you said, I'm not going to force you to do something you don't want to do, bro.
Right. No, you're right.
That's a big part of it.
What happened was what precipitated the comeback is I came down to visit you in South Carolina and just being around each other again. Everyone knows who listens. When you get together with an old friend, it feels like you never left. Your chemistry is still there. And so kind of bringing that back and realizing, hey, we really do have great chemistry. We really like to talk and get along and discuss stuff. Hey, let's try and bring it back. And Greg was all for it. So we were let's give it a shot again. Technology that is these days, there's so many podcasts that are long distance where people are not in the same room. So it's really not that big of a deal.
And with that, I think moving forward, our format is going to change a little bit. We are going to do every other week. So instead of having 20 episodes, we're going to cut back to 10 a season to give us a little bit of time to get the podcast perfect and also, to let life happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So we don't have to rush to get these episodes out because we do want to give you guys good content. We want to get on some good guests this year. But I am very excited.
Definitely excited. Greg, are you excited?
Me too. Very excited.
Well, I like talking about this stuff too because Greg and all of us are, relatively ambitious, motivated people. We tend to have our hands in a lot of different pots, doing a lot of different things. Greg and I used to be heavily involved with church and all sorts of things that required weekly commitments. And Reuben, you know what that's like as well. And so the importance of being able to say, what is healthy for me to do? Can I just go 100 miles an hour every single day? Is that really good for me? And some people can do that. Elon Musk, God bless him. Okay, if you can do that, okay, fine. But I'm not that kind of person. I kind of need breaks, need to be able to, take a week off here and there. And I'd love to know, even if our listeners feel that way, if they feel like, man, I just don't want to be doing all these extra obligations after work or whatever all the time. I really want to be able to have some breathing time. Do you guys ever feel that way?
Yeah, I definitely do. It's just you're constantly running, if you're doing all these extra activities, and every one of them is like super demanding. They want all your time,
right?
Each.
Well, but Greg's funny because Greg always has a lot of extra projects. Like, Greg, I'll be like texting you at 2 a.m. Be like, oh, Greg, what are you up to? And you'll be like, oh, I'm like coding a new whatever piece of software for fun, which I think is so funny because you're just really passionate about it. But do you ever feel like you get burned out too sometimes?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I get burned out,
Yeah. It's really funny you say that because I feel like my partner and I, and we'll get to that later, big updates coming soon.
We need it.
But we talk about how our free time, how our like what makes us like relax is like work in a weird way is like, so like, she's a musician, so she'll be working on some of her music, or like this is something that I do to like blow off steam.
Passion project.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really funny because like there are times though, and I think that's why the every other week thing is great, because I think it gives us a little bit of leeway.
Yeah.
If there's one week we want to record 2 episodes in a week, we can do that. If there's a week we want to take off, I think it's totally fine. I think that's the thing. We're not getting paid. No one is paying us to do this.
Right. Or maybe we'll get obsessed again and we'll keep doing it every week.
Who knows?
True.
Who knows?
But
we're back.
We're back, everyone. This is fantastic. Thanks for everyone for listening. We wanted to go live tonight on Instagram and get people's questions and stuff, but one thing at a time, as we talked about, not burning ourselves out. So if you guys do follow us on Instagram or want to, it's Guys Who Cry Official. You can at least follow us there. We do check it and post. Well, we will try to post fairly regularly, and we do watch the inbox. So do you want to get to life updates, Reuben? I know you've had a lot of changes. You've moved. You want to tell everybody kind of where you've moved? Kind of what's happening. I don't know how much detail you want to go into about job and all that, but we want to hear about your love life.
So let's talk about this, right? So people who have listened to the podcast know that I was on a very popular cooking show. For those of you who don't know, if this is your first time listening, I was on the show Chopped on the Food Network, and because of that, I got a job opportunity in Nashville. And so that was in 2022, and because of that, I got a job offer in Nashville, and I moved to Nashville to start this job. And I went there doing a long distance relationship with a person from Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
About a couple months in, it just didn't work out. Just things happened, and it just became very clear to me that it just wasn't the right fit. I just wasn't emotionally prepared for that. And it was crazy during that time. Actually, Adam came down to visit. During that split,
my first time in Nashville. My first time in Nashville, actually, that was cool, man.
And he was very instrumental, and because of that, I was like, hey, I'm gonna get back on these dating apps, and I did. And the first person I met on that dating app was a wonderful person by the name of Liz Kelly. Shout out to her.
That's why first date, she was the first person you met in person getting back on
first
the dating
date.
apps.
And what's really funny, and I think this is very good advice to anybody who's dating in their late 20s, early 30s, is going into this, neither of us had any expectation of we actually both had on our dating profile short-term dating.
That's wild.
And
low expectations.
Yeah, because I was supposed to move. Because the original idea was I was supposed to go to Nashville. I was going to start this job, and then they were training me to open up a restaurant in Orlando.
Right.
And so I was going to be part of a restaurant opening in Orlando. And so I met her, and I was like, hey, listen, I'm only here for a couple more months. I'm not really trying to find anything
right,
like deep and for real, And, we just kept hanging out, and we kept kind of falling for each other. And next thing you know, we were in love, and we were dating for about 3 months. And then, she moved in with me. And then it became very clear that my life's purpose had kind of changed into, I had always been a workaholic. You guys, Adam can attest to that. I've always been a workaholic. I just work, and work was everything for me.
Sure.
This was the first time in my life I met somebody where I was like, work is not everything.
Right.
And this is somebody that I want to spend more time with. And so we made the decision as a couple to not move to Orlando, which we had already signed a lease there. And luckily we were able to get out of it. but we made the choice as a couple to move to Myrtle Beach, where she actually grew up. And we are calling this our gap year. So she has some plans for grad school and everything. So we were just talking about this year being kind of our year that we become stronger as a couple. We live in this house together. And that is where I'm at now. I work at a restaurant here, and that's pretty much it.
Oh, I was going to ask, because it's so fun to know about how people date and when people meet and how people meet and all that stuff. Who knew that this was going to be something more significant than just something short term? Like, did she know that first? Did you know that first? Or was it the first date where you're both kind of like, ooh, we both really like each other, you know?
So here's the fun fact. She reached out to me. And when she reached out to me, she reached out via Instagram. And when she reached out on Instagram, I saw Liz Kelly Music, right? So that's her Instagram handle. And it said, oh, Liz Kelly Music started following you. And I was like, okay. So I followed her back because I looked at her profile. I was like, oh, Nashville musician. Okay, that's cool. Like, maybe she just saw me hashtag Nashville or something. And so she sent me a message and was like, hey, thanks for the follow back. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, this is a scam. This is like somebody who's just trying to get people to listen to her music.
Because you felt like
I did listen.
You felt like she was out of your league? Oh, I see.
Well, I kind of felt like she was out of my league, but like also like I thought it was just one of those like auto replies to people who follow, you know? Then I was like, oh, this is somebody who actually wants to meet. So our first date, we met up and immediately we just clicked. It was just like, oh, we talked about music. We talked about life. We talked about kids the first date, which was crazy.
Yeah.
I told her straight up when I first met her, I was like, hey, full disclosure, I'm fresh out of a relationship.
Right.
So like, I am not looking for anything serious right now. But it became very clear on our second date, because that was after she had said, hey, I think we should just keep things platonic because I know myself and she's like, I know myself and I would probably get attached.
Right.
Which I thought was a nice way of like putting me in the friend zone.
Yeah.
And so then she came to visit me at work, and then we went out for drinks afterwards. And that night was the night where I felt like we were like, okay, so we're going to date here. And then every time we kept going out, we just kept getting nicer and nicer. And there was a point, I think we both knew very early on that each other was somebody special.
Mm-hmm.
Probably like the fourth date where we were both like, oh man, because we both kept saying things like, man, this is really going to suck when I have to move.
Right.
And then it would be like, she's like, I might be moving to Key West. I was like, oh, well, Key West isn't that far from Orlando. And we kept skirting around this idea of like being a couple and like doing like the long distance thing, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know, because I think we both knew kind of early, but I don't know. It's kind of crazy to where I'm at now as opposed to a year ago. I'm getting all these memories on Facebook and stuff. I'm like, oh, wow. This is definitely not where I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, when you're at that point where it's not easy to lose someone, where it's not easy to let them go, you're like, okay, if you're changing your life situation, well, I need to change mine too, because like I just need to be with you. I think that's so important, and it seems like that was pretty obvious from the get-go with you guys, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's just crazy thinking that this is the first time I can say for sure in my dating life that this is somebody I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. I thought I had that feeling before, but it was very clear, like our second month in, that I was like, oh man, like, cause like she was going on tour and stuff,
right.
I remember that first tour, she went up the East Coast, up to like Nantucket, and then kind of went down. And I remember that first tour, like we talked every night. And there was a couple moments where I almost slipped and said, I love you. And I'll never forget. So I was talking to Lauren Wyndham, who was on the show. She competed with me on Chopped.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember calling her the day before Liz came home. And I was like, dude, I really need to talk to you about something. And I really need to talk to, I need to get a woman's perspective on this.
Uh-huh.
And I asked her, I was like, hey, so I think I'm in love with Liz. And she started laughing. And I was like, but I don't want to scare her off by telling her this. Right.
Right.
And she's like, Reuben, you just got to, because I had never been the first person to ever tell a woman this.
Yeah.
You know, if it had ever been said in a relationship, it was always the woman who said it to me. And so I'll never forget it. The next day she came back and I was like, hey, I got to tell you something, but like, you don't have to say it back, but like, I'm in love with you.
Wow.
And
Wow.
she was like, well, I'm in love with you too. And then she spilled this detail that apparently on like the second or third week of us like being together, apparently when I was like falling asleep one night, I like said, hey, I think I'm falling in love with you. And then I turned over and went to bed. And I was like, oh, how embarrassing. Gosh. But enough about me.
No,
there are 3 people on this podcast.
Well, but it's interesting though. I just like these topics that are really fun to talk about. I think when I start to like a girl, like I probably open my mouth way too early. And I think like, if I think it's mutual, obviously, even a month or 2 in, I'm like, oh, I'll say I love you. Like, I don't really care. Do you? But not, everybody else is super careful about it. Well,
do you really think?
No, I guess it can't be too early as long as you're willing to take rejection. The fact that the person doesn't say it back to you, you know. But
yeah,
But I like the idea of getting your feelings out on the table and just being like, look, here's, like you said, I just need you to know that this is how I feel. And if you don't feel the same way, that's okay. But this is how I'm feeling. You know, even if it's a month in or whatever.
Yeah, and I will say one of the biggest things that I feel like has really contributed to the success of this relationship is the fact that we are very open emotionally with each other about our past, about our triggers, about our past like relationships and how those affect the way we think now. You know, like this is the longest relationship I've ever been in.
Yeah.
And I remember like right around that like 7-month mark, I started to get like, I was like, okay, this is usually when either they find somebody else or like, you know, I had to be open with her about like, you know, unfortunately I've had to deal with infidelity in my relationships where like the person cheats on me or whatever. And so I was like, look, like I'm terrified that you're going to find somebody else. And now we have this place together. And then like, I'm going to be stuck in Myrtle Beach. And it took me a long, you know, and I was very open with her about it. She's like, look, I'm so glad you told me that. She was so kind. She's always been so kind and so like, you know, she always just listens to me and makes me feel heard and like and you know, I hope I do the same for her, which I feel like I do. And she tells me that I do, but like, you know, it's one of those things that we were just very open with each other from the get. And I don't think having those big discussions early, man, I think is important. Greg, I don't know. You're the one who's married here. I mean, you give us this. Tell me if I'm right or wrong.
No, I think you're right. I think you took a big risk in the sense like you put yourself out there. You were vulnerable in the sense that you moved somewhere where you're not, you know, at home in your backyard with family and support network and friends and all that. So, I mean, you put that out there and I don't know, that's awesome that you said that. And it's also awesome that you did it in the first place.
Yeah. And to her credit, she was going to move with me to Orlando. And I think I probably would have had the same fears there, you know, because I don't know. I deal with self-esteem issues a lot. I think as all of us do. I think we all tend to not look at us the way other people look at us. And, you know, it is not lost on me that Liz is a very beautiful person, but she's also very beautiful inside. And in like the way she treats me is why I'm attracted to her. But there was definitely a point where I was like, man, yeah, and I know the league thing is so stupid. People say the league thing is so dumb, and it is.
What's that?
Right? Like, you know, like saying, oh, she's out of my league or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But like, it is true. You know, it is something that I feel like it took me a while to get used to dating somebody that is so beautiful. And like, that is so like, you know, she's modeled and stuff. So like, it is something that took me a while to get used to, you know, being comfortable with that, you know?
And that's what I think is good, at least from a guy's perspective, someone who's usually so picky and whatever, like having someone that you kind of honor, not like put up on a pedestal where you like worship and do whatever they say, but like someone you honor and admire so much that maybe you do think, oh, you perceive them as being like, man, I can't believe that I'm with you. Like, that's a really great feeling because you will continue to come back day and day to be with them and to cross whatever mountains you need to get over to be with them. And I think that's a good feeling.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't make you feel too insecure. Greg, I don't know. Did you ever feel like that? Did you ever feel like with your wife, like it was like, did you ever feel insecure in the relationship or like, oh, I can't believe, like, how could she like me or anything? Or did you just feel like it was a healthy balance?
I think I definitely had self-esteem issues throughout my whole life. I was one of those people that did not have a lot of like dating luck. So it was kind of like, when somebody did come around, you were like, oh God, what do they see? Because
I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah, I can't believe this is happening. Because so many others have just been like, friend zone.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. How long did you know? How long did it take you before you realized, like, oh, like I really like, I really have strong feelings for her? Was it like the first date? Yeah.
Probably. I'll definitely say there was a lot of chemistry the first date because I don't know, we just it was comfortable, like right off from the start. And I don't mean comfortable as in like, you get complacent, like comfortable as in like, wow, it feels like we've known each other for longer than we have.
Right. Yeah.
And I spilled a beer on her at Iron Hill, like right there in Newark.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. First date, spilled a beer right on her dress.
How did she handle it? Greg,
she handled it fine. No, she didn't get mad at all. No, I thought that was good. I was like, oh, that's it. That's the end of that.
She would never say that.
And honestly, knowing Greg, I can see Greg being like, I am so sorry. Oh my gosh. Like I can see Greg being like this so nice about it. For those of you who don't know Greg has pretty extensive history in Wilmington as a DJ, right?
Used to DJ.
Let the people know about you, Greg.
Let's see. Used to DJ the Stone Balloon. Used to DJ Logan House and
Giant G.
I've sprinkled. I've been around all different kinds of places. I've even covered for a buddy of mine. I'll give him a shout. He's got a bigger name than I do, so I'm like kind of name dropping. DJ Biz in the Delaware, Tri-State, Philly, Atlantic City area. He had me play at a place called the Missile Bar, which is at Cuba Libre up in Tropicana.
Cuba Libre.
That was a fun gig. That was a really fun place to play.
Cuba Libre. All my Latina female friends try to get me to go up there to meet girls, and I'm like, nah, I don't want to dance. I'm good. I don't want to. That's cool though.
I love that about you, Adam. I love that you tend to go towards the Latin woman route, but you don't like dancing, which is a very important thing in Latin culture.
I'm okay with dancing. Like I'm decent. Like I'm okay. I just don't like. It's not something I look forward to doing. I'd rather sit in a coffee shop and talk about random philosophical things or whatever, like what we do here. But it is funny that because of my friends say that, like, oh, you just like Latinas. I'm like, no, I don't. Like I'm definitely more open to like. All shades and ethnicities and backgrounds and stuff.
Shades.
I'm just saying, shades of skin, whatever. I didn't want to say colors. I'm like,
I don't think you can say that. Oh
I'm very open in my preferences, but it's just like, kind of who your dating past kind of, makes everybody think that that's who you will date in the future, So I will say I'm not seeing anybody now, but I am grateful that I have had like many dates with different people to get to know a lot of different people this year. And that's usually not the case. It's usually like, maybe a girlfriend or like just making friends. Actually going on real dates with a lot of different good people is like a really good experience this year because you get to know yourself, you get to know what you like, what you don't like. And Hinge, the dating app, has really worked for me well this year. And other dating apps are like really hit or miss. So shout out to Hinge. But
it's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, shout out to Hinge. That's how I met Liz. But yeah, man, you've been doing a lot. I know, like you've been doing a lot.
Have I?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Okay, we'll talk about the meetup group thing, man. I feel like that has been a huge this last couple years for you.
It's been more recent. I'm very grateful for another app, the Meetup app, if you want to make friends and social groups and stuff. It's been a lifesaver. I live in Delaware, about 45 minutes from Philadelphia, but I've met a lot of great people in Philadelphia through the Meetup app and friends that, I might hang out with a group of 20 people on a Friday night and make one new best friend, and that person will carry on for a couple of years. And it's amazing how you can extend your network with one person and then it leads to two people and then you make more friends. And so as an extrovert, I really enjoy just meeting people in general. It's like if I don't have a relationship or whatever, and we're not doing creative things, like that's one thing I really thrive off of, is just like meeting new people and connecting people. So there's a meetup group I'm part of now called Remote Workers of Philly. And we're working to really connect people and expand the group. So again, it's just opportunities that come up that I feel really grateful for, just like doing the podcast again. And it's just, man, life is short, and trying to find meaning in just little projects is so important.
Well, and you never know when that relationship or when that acquaintance is going to turn into something more. Like right. Look at us. I met you in 2012 or something.
Yeah.
At UD.
We've known each other over a decade. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we didn't hang out at all, and then we met up with like a beach trip about 5 years ago. And then 2019, we met up at a Halloween party, and then unfortunately 2020 was COVID, and then that's when we started hanging out. We were working out in his garage and let's just hang out. And then before you knew it, we were hanging out 3 times a week. And then it got to the point where Adam would come over my house and be like, hey, I brought a case of Diet Coke just because I know I'm going to be here a lot.
I need to have supplies when I come over. Yeah. Well, that's what I love about life is that you don't know people who will come back into your life that you may have already known, whether that's dating or a friend or whatever. And it's someone, I've known you for 10 years. We hung out 2 times in the first 7 years. And then we're hanging out every single day in the last 3, And so I'm just really grateful for those relationships and friendships. So sure.
It was one of those things that when I moved, I was obviously I moved to a new city, didn't know anybody.
Right.
And it was people like you, people like Cortland, people like our buddy Tim, like that. I feel like, I was calling you guys once a week. Yeah. And if I didn't have these friendships, if I didn't have these brothers and sisters, like my friend Lauren, man, I would have been in a terrible mental space. My mental health was already pretty bad when I moved, because I was pretty sad. The dating situation I was in took a big toll.
Sure.
And you guys saved my life when I was out there. I credit Adam to being a big reason of why I met Liz.
Oh,
I told him that the other week. I said, because if I didn't have Adam there, I wouldn't have gotten the closure I needed on my prior relationship to have the confidence to get back on that app. And sure enough, the day Adam left, the day Adam flew back home was the day I met Liz.
That's wild. I remember that week being with you because that empathy kicks in and I'm like, man, I know this is such a bummer this week to be here during this time, but it's at least I could be maybe somewhat of a distraction, and you showing me around Nashville was a really great time. So yeah, appreciate your friendship. We're there for each other when we need it.
That's right.
So it's awesome. The other update I was going to say, just it put into perspective for me some things about what I'm trying to do with my life. That my dad is 80 and he got really sick this summer with heart failure, not a heart attack or a stroke, but just congestive heart failure. And we thought at one point he was going to die. So when you get to that, it made me not want to post on social media. It made me not really do a lot of social stuff. I was in the hospital visiting him a lot. And so it definitely gave me a perspective of man, you definitely only got one life to live. And why I always have realized that, I'm even if you really want to find a relationship, but if you can't have that, make the most of your life, And so I feel like I've been trying to do that a little bit more since that happened. Actually, my dad's made somewhat of a remarkable recovery, and he's home and doing okay. So
shout out to Buzz.
Yeah, so that's good. It's just another update, but it puts things into perspective for you. But
thank goodness.
I don't know. Greg, actually, have you ever had a moment like that where you just felt like your life was put into perspective by either meeting Kim or something in the past that happened? Do you ever have those moments of enlightenment?
Yeah.
Anything you can recall?
It was the health scare of my own. When I dealt with something called PSVT, paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia. The paroxysmal means it happens sporadically. It doesn't always happen.
A heart thing?
Heart thing.
Okay.
Tachycardia means your heart runs too fast. And basically what it is you sitting still, Reuben, sitting on your couch, not doing anything, your heart rate immediately just spikes up to 150, 145.
Oh, dang.
It immediately starts to feels like you're running.
Yeah.
And you're not sprinting. You're running a good pace. You could still talk, but you're like, why am I out of breath? Why am I not out of breath, but why am I breathing harder than I normally would?
Right.
And then you feel your pulse. And you're like, wait a minute, my heart rate's gone nuts. And the first time it happened, you kind of panic and you think I having a heart attack. You have this feeling.
I can't imagine. Yeah.
And when your heart rate fluctuates, you get this shortness of breath feeling. And the only way I can describe shortness of breath, it sounds like, it feels like I can't, breathe. I can't suck in air. Has nothing to do with that. The way it actually feels is your lungs are inflating. They're pulling in air, letting air out.
Yeah.
But you don't feel like you're getting anything out of the breaths you're taking. So you're like, but you're not getting any oxygen.
That's so frustrating, and just the anxiety, you must all of that.
Oh, it freaks you out because you're like, wait a minute, I'm breathing, but I don't feel like I'm getting any breath. I feel like I'm holding my breath even though I'm pulling in air and blowing it out. But anyway, that first time that happened, did the whole thing, freaked out, called an ambulance, got a ride to Christiana Hospital.
That's a scare.
That was like a 2-year thing. And I mean, it knocked me for a loop. I didn't have, I was working out at the time. I was running, 3-5 miles, a day. And then just all of a sudden it was like, I got to stop because this could kill me or something, or maybe there's something wrong with me. And
That really put like your mortality like in view.
did.
Did you really feel like I could die, or just being more aware of your mortality?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Completely
so
aware
scary.
of mortality. And then
Yeah.
you're like, I gotta do what I can do with the time I have, because
Right.
you don't know how long you have.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I feel like we all need moments like that. We all need those checks just to be like, hey, life is short, and are we doing the most that we can with our life for whatever it is we want to do? You know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, those things happen out of nowhere sometimes too, you know? Like I remember the week before Liz and I decided to move here.
Yeah.
You know, it became very clear to me that I was not in a mental space to open up a brand new restaurant, to be on call as much as I was needed. And because I had never dated somebody that all I wanted to do was be with them.
Right.
You know, I was like, dude, I don't care what I do. I would be a line cook in a crappy restaurant as long as it meant I was coming home.
Could be with this person. That's awesome. Yeah.
And that was my moment, man. I was like, oh wow, okay. And you know, I got hit up by a lot of people who were like, yo, you making the right move? Are you sure? Are you sure? Like, this is a big opportunity you're moving away from. And
right.
I was like, yeah, honestly, like, yeah, this person has changed my life.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I mean, it happens I think about it happening to even married couples who maybe they both have jobs and they're working 80 hours a week and they're doing whatever, but then they have kids, and then that having kids puts things into perspective. Like, wait, why am I working so much and then I can't spend time with my kids or whatever? Like, we think everyone has moments in those lives of just like, what am I doing this grind for every day? And I've heard a lot of people say that on their deathbed, that they didn't wish they worked more hours. They wish they spent more time with the people that they loved. And like, that's all I want to do, you know? I want to have good work, because I think good work is a balance. You know, want to have good productive things you do during the day and all that stuff, but like being able to spend time with your friends, your buddies, your loved ones, your spouse, your girlfriend, your kids, whatever, like, is the most important thing we can do. So, yeah. Really bringing the mood down here. It's great. Actually, can we bring back the mental health check? I want to do it, please.
Yeah, let's do it. Usually we do it towards the end of the show, but we can do it now.
Let's do it. I want to break it up a little bit. Did we do scale 1 through 10?
Yes.
10 is good? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're a little rusty. This is a little bit of a... We have some other cool ideas we want to do for the show, but this is a good test episode. So.
Hey, we have 9 more episodes to get this done.
That's right. We got to crank them out. I guess I'll go first. I feel like I'm at like an 8 this week. Yeah, talking to some new people, doing some new things, doing the podcast, this kind of stuff helps a lot. Makes me feel really good. So I feel like I'm at about an 8. And I had this other question I wrote down about the last time we cried. I haven't cried in a while. I almost feel like I need to, but I feel like I've been relatively happy and content enough that I have not cried in a while, at least not for bad reasons. So I don't know. Who wants to go next? Greg?
I'll go. Yeah, I was going to say I was like a 6 or 5 after like just a rough day today with the work stuff.
Yes.
But this brings me up, being here with you guys and doing this. Is buddy. Awesome. So yeah. Cried. Last time I cried, let me think. It's usually, it's weird with me. It can be dumb things. Like I can be watching a sappy movie or an old television show where something is super, super sentimental. Kim and I have gotten into this old 80s television show.
What?
Which is like, it's called, it was Michael Landon. It was called Highway to Heaven.
Oh.
And like, it's not like, it's got like religious undertones, but it's not overly religious. Like it's just about like kind of doing the right thing and people. And there's like a lot of really like touching, like tear-jerking moments in that show. And you have to kind of sit there like,
that's why I don't like watching shows like that. I was like, I don't want to be in touch with my emotional. No, I'm just kidding. I just don't like to cry for no reason.
It's embarrassing. It shouldn't be.
It's like I don't want to be sad. Like I don't want to be sad. But I get it. What about you, Reuben?
Yeah, man, I'm probably at like an 8.5.
Good.
This is a busy week. Tomorrow, I don't know when this is going to come out, but tomorrow, January 24th, I'm going to be doing a wine dinner.
Yes.
It's a Nicolas Cage wine dinner.
Yes.
And so I've been doing every day since January 1st, I've been doing a different video asking Nicolas Cage to come to the wine dinner.
Yes.
And it's kind of fun that it's ending because it's been a lot of work. And then Thursday morning, I fly to Arizona for a new project for a couple days.
Excellent.
And then I'll be back Sunday. So just kind of like trying to get through this week, honestly. But yeah, man, last time I cried. Well,
Putting you on the spot.
I'll say this. And I'm going to be honest about what's going to happen these next couple of weeks. Cause like, I'll tell you what, like I'm going to be talking about Liz a lot. And
That's fair.
I feel like since we've been together, there's been a lot of moments where we've cried only because we are so happy.
Yeah.
It is like the happiest tears because it's like, oh, like the other moment, the other night, we were just like, oh my God, we're just so grateful that we found each other because through all the mire and the muck that is the dating pool, that is dating, that is like being abused or whatever,
rejection,
like all of that stuff that can happen.
Yeah.
Even when you're in a relationship, all of the crappy things that can happen. Getting through those things and getting to a point where you are open to be this vulnerable with another person is quite remarkable, to be honest. And like, we cried the other day because we were just so happy that we found each other, you know? And it's like, I don't know. It's like love is one of those things that I feel like I didn't think was truly real the way it was portrayed. And now we've been doing this thing called Rom-Com Mondays, and we watch these rom-coms. We're like, oh, it's actually kind of sweet.
Yeah, because you kind of get it, right? I mean, the Hollywood version of love is, I think, what people aspire to. Because not that everyone has to feel that way in their relationships. There's a lot of happy relationships, and they wouldn't necessarily describe the feeling of being with each other, maybe quite in that way. But I think that's how a lot of people feel. We aspire to that because that thing is real. The kind of Hollywood version-esque of love is a real thing. Not all the ways that it's idealized and all that stuff, but that way you feel about someone where it just feels right. It just feels right. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. Okay? I'm miserable over here. No, I'm kidding.
No, listen, I 100% understand that it is probably super annoying to the people that follow me on Instagram. They're probably like, okay, we get it.
Maybe a little bit. But the thing is, when someone's really happy, so you can't not be happy for them. Like I have had a couple friends this year who have been looking for people for a long time and have had a lot of rejection, and they finally met good people. And it makes me happy. Like, honestly, even selfishly, it just gives me hope. I'm like, well, these people can find, they've been struggling for a long time. I can find it too, So like, it makes me feel happy because like again, life is short. So if other people, my friends, get to experience happiness when they haven't had that in the past with a person, it makes me so happy.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for you. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's
Greg, I don't care about anymore. He's been married too long. So. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, here's the thing. I remember when we brought this podcast back. I remember it was a big deal to me. Talking about Greg, I'm gonna brag on Greg for a little bit. It's very obvious if you go through our catalog. It is very obvious when Greg joined the team.
Yeah. Production quality here.
Oh,
here.
Yeah. It went from sounding like we were recording on our phones, which we were.
Yeah. It sounded good.
Sounding like we're in a studio. And, I will give this to Greg. I've never seen somebody so talented. I remember there were times where I would just look at Adam and I would be like, and this is 100% true, Greg. I don't think we've ever told you this, but I remember there was one time I called up Adam and I was like, hey man, can I be honest with you about something? I was like, I feel like we're taking advantage of Greg. Are we taking advantage of Greg? And he was like, no, man, like he genuinely loves doing it. I was like, all right, but I feel like he's doing so much work for this podcast. I was like, all I do is show up and talk like an idiot. And this guy's back there giving like microphones and stuff and making this podcast sound so professional. I know. This podcast is so professional because of you, Greg.
Well,
so it was very important to me when we started this podcast that this never felt like work to you. And I remember telling Adam that I was like, dude, it is very important to me that, that Greg does not feel like he's being used or that he ends up getting stressed about this. Because if that ever happens, if you ever start getting stressed about this project, we're going to take a break for a little bit again, man. That's it.
100%.
That's it. But it was very important to me that everyone here was very happy because I was very happy about it. I was very excited to do this again. And it's awesome.
We love you, Greg. As we've put Greg in front of the camera to be a talking guest as well, or talking host is what I meant. He's also switching the camera from his tablet Android, by the way. Okay, not an iPad. He's doing that all from the table wirelessly. It's very impressive. It's very impressive to me because I'm a nerd, so I like it. That's why I'm wearing the glasses. I don't wear glasses, by the way, but I just wanted to put on props, so forgive me.
Yeah, it's funny. Adam, I always appreciate what you bring to the table fashion wise. You look good. I'm just in a crappy t-shirt. I put on a ring.
Hey, your t-shirt is awesome. Show the t-shirt. What's the significance?
It's a Supreme shirt that I got from Facebook Marketplace for $35. Probably more than I would ever really spend on a t-shirt. But then I looked up this shirt on like Goat or whatever that sneaker site is.
Oh yeah,
and it was like going for like $100. It's almost something for $35. So it's a Supreme shirt, the company Supreme, but it has the Supremes on it, which is like totally my aesthetic to have like
that's
vintage
cool.
music. So I'm going to stand up to everyone who could see the video. You guys can see the Supremes on my shirt.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's the best I can do. Sorry.
You look good. Oh, you're kind of tethered to the couch anyways.
Yeah.
No, that looks good. Oh, my outfits are whack sometimes. Oh my gosh. Cool. All right.
I'll say this, man. I miss being in that room with y'all.
I know.
Looking at that room,
I'm like, man, I miss being there.
But it's not bad. I mean, it does feel like we're together in a way. I don't know. We've got him up on a TV screen, and I don't know. It's just
no delay.
Yeah. I'm
excited to when we start to get some more guests on. That'll be another challenge for Greg that I'm sure he'll love to get through.
We do want to do some guests. That's going to be fun. Yeah.
No, it won't be hard. It won't be hard at all.
Well, and also it's fun now because of my time in Nashville, I was able to be introduced to a lot of very talented and pretty well-known musicians in the field. So we can get some cool people on that.
Yes.
I'm sure we can get Liz on. So, the Guys Who Cry family can meet Liz officially.
Absolutely.
We'd love to.
You guys can hear. Yeah. We can, she's super talented. Go follow her, Liz Kelly Music on all platforms.
Check her out.
Liz Kelly, Kelley.
Nice plug. Shameless plug. No, it's good. It's shameless. Okay. It's okay. We're all doing it.
I will say, though, I do represent Delaware a lot. I have my Jessup's Tavern mug that I'm drinking tea out of right now.
Newcastle, right?
Newcastle.
It's been a while.
I miss Delaware. I will say that. I never thought...
Don't lie.
And I feel like this is something that not a lot of people think about is home.
Yeah.
You guys ever think about like what home feels like to you?
Oh, yeah.
Delaware is always going to be home for me.
Me too.
Yeah, no, that's fair. My friends asked me recently because I have friends that have moved all over the place, and a lot of times they're asking me, "Dude, why are you still in Delaware?" And I'm like, I can't help it. I keep meeting new people here. My family literally lives 5 minutes away from me. I have a wonderful uncle who's here, and we do stuff together. Sorry, I know he's whatever. But
let's be uncle. Let's be uncle. Let's be honest. Uncle Greg.
Greg is a young uncle.
Is a friend
for me.
He's a friend,
but he is truly a friend.
He is one of your best friends.
he really is. No, Greg. Be really honest. He really is one of my best friends.
Don't bring it down to just an uncle.
I'm always trying to.
You are more than just an uncle.
Establish the connection, but it's like again, your home is where you make it. And even though I'm like in my mind, this is how I think of myself. I'm like a Miami guy. I'm like a Los Angeles guy. I'm probably not really, but like I love those cultures and those climates. But I'm like, this is just where I am. And I've dated girls literally in other countries and stuff, and it does become difficult because it's like, well, this is kind of where I want to be. This is where everything is for me. So I also have a house, which is annoying.
You said you're Miami. I was like, you're Mr. 305.
Mr. 305. Yeah, because I got the
Yeah, look, he does look like.
No, that's stupid.
Yeah, he's Mr. 302.
Mr. 302.
I'm not tan enough to be. I'm not tan enough to be him. I'm white as a snowman.
You're Mr. Statewide.
I'm a polar bear. Ugh,
man.
Anyway,
I'm so glad we're doing this again.
This is great, man. This is great. Thanks to all our listeners, to people who are patient with us. Please send us ideas for segments, anything you want to hear, or questions on Instagram. We will definitely reply to you and respond. So definitely.
Oh, did we want to mention the idea of if we were to go live and maybe putting up a poll of when would be a good time to do so, when people might actually be able to tune in live?
Oh, yeah. Let us know a good time to interact with us live. If we did go live on Instagram, what would be a good time to do? 5, 6,
yeah, even if it was for like 20 minutes or whatever, we could definitely make that work.
Yeah.
We got to experiment.
That would be a lot of fun.
That would be awesome. Cool.
Wild stuff. Wild stuff.
Huh.
49 minutes.
Oh, 49 minutes. Perfect. Okay. Anything else you guys want to cover?
Look at that.
That's pretty good. We bored people enough. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Oh, I missed that, Adam. I'm joking.
I'm just joking.
I'm just joking.
Oh man! If anybody ever has the pleasure of going out to eat with Adam,
Don't do it.
you guys will hear the whole menu
Don't do
before
it.
you even look at it.
I'm not a foodie at all. My siblings make fun of me for it because they're like, "Oh, so what do you like to eat?" I'm like,
Brussels sprouts. That sounds good.
I just eat eggs every day and salads, and I go out and I don't know what anything is. So yeah,
Well, we did it.
we did it.
Episode 1 of season 4 is in the books.
Thank you everyone
did
for
it.
listening. Any other updates? Any other things we got to share? Craig, you good?
No, that's it.
Thank you guys
Great.
for listening and be entertained.
Yay, yay, yay.